My daughter's birthday. All right, we'll see. Adam, thank you so much. Joining me right now, Fox News contributor and founder and CEO of 32 Advisors, Robert Wolf. Fox News contributor Steve Cortes and director of policy at the Independent Women's Forum, Hadley Heath Manning. Robert, I'm starting with you because, as I keep saying, there's some good stuff, but there's some bad stuff, too. And one of my concerns is that they're actually penalizing the people that are paying the taxes.
Well, this is just a corporate tax cut. This whole plan is to get corporate tax rates to 20%, to try to get it within the reconciliation, and the individuals are losing, especially the middle class. I don't think this will look anything like where we are at the end of the day for them to get it passed.
When you say the individuals are losing, why are they losing out here?
Well, first, the state and local exemption. That's not just good for New York and California. It's good for Wisconsin. It's good for Minnesota. It's good for hardworking individuals. You have things like medical devices and medical treatment. You have things like for teachers buying supplies. I mean, it's hitting the middle class. That's who it's hitting. It's just not what we would have expected. And it benefits some of us at the higher end on estate taxes or the alternative minimum tax. It's a corporate tax cut. We should just say what it is.
It's a corporate tax cut, okay?
That's
Why
it.
Not just then forget about the individuals?
That's what they should do.
Just say, okay, we're going to do corporate first, and maybe the next round or the next round we'll eventually get to individuals. But, it is what it is.
Well, first, I have to correct the record here. That's simply not true. Middle-class people are going to get a tax cut. A family of four, average family of four who makes $60,000 will get about a $1,000 tax cut under this proposal. And on top of that, not just a cut, but
great.
simplicity.
$1,000,
The higher end gets
simplicity also.
The higher end gets over $50,000.
No, and a lot of wealthy people, particularly if they live in high-tax states, may very well see their taxes go up under this proposal. I'm not in favor of that, by the way.
Not wealthy people, by the way, Steve Cortes. High-income people. In other words, people that are out there earning a living. They're not necessarily wealthy.
Right.
But those folks that are earning a good living are going to get penalized.
Trish, you make a great point there, because somebody who makes, say, $250,000, say, in Los Angeles and has 2 kids in college probably doesn't feel very wealthy, right? Even though that is a high income compared to most of the country. So that is a very valid point. My biggest problem with the tax, and there's a lot to like in here, my biggest problem is the corporate tax cut by the Senate, at least, is being punted an entire year. I mean, to me, that's just asinine. What is the point of we Republicans, winning control of all the federal government if we can't deliver an immediate tax cut? The idea that, I will gladly pay you Wednesday for a hamburger today. No, the tax cut needs to be now and immediate. So I'm really, really upset about that, and I hope that the House holds to their ground and makes this immediate.
Yeah, I agree with him on that one.
Right. I mean, if you're going to actually try and put through a tax cut, you might as well put it through, and it should be effective immediately. I mean, you've got a president, Ms. Hadley Heath Manning, who wants to see this economy grow in the neighborhood of 4% a year. And he thinks we have that opportunity by onshoring so many of these overseas profits, repatriation. There are lots of ways that we can start getting things going. But one of the most critical components, of course, is the tax cut on the corporate level. So why would you wait?
Exactly. Putting this in the big picture, recognizing that American corporations pay a higher tax rate than almost anywhere else in the world. We have to get it down to a competitive rate. The rest of the world looks at about a 23% on average corporate tax rate. So it's going to allow our businesses to be much more competitive on a global scale. And that's not just good for the CEOs and the stockholders. That's good for American workers. We know that American workers indirectly pay the lion's share of corporate taxes. Seeing an increase in wages, finally, this is something that so many American families need.
Well, you may see an increase in wages, but guess what? They're going to take it. And you know who they're not taking it from in this whole deal? And this really irritates me. The private equity investors that are milking the system by only paying a capital gains investment tax rate instead of an income tax rate on their income. Bob, this is something the president said over and over and over again was just bad. And he promised he'd go after it. And we used to say, well, Hillary Clinton didn't go after it and Barack Obama didn't go after it. Maybe they didn't go after it for political reasons. And now you see this swamp at work and they didn't bother to go after it either.
It would be hitting his donor community, and it's something that should be done. But this plan is not that bold. If bold would be have an up and down vote on every loophole, and then we'll see which senators support what. And then we can easily get to that 20% and not go through a reconciliation. The truth is, at the end of the day, we're just trying to get through this reconciliation within $1.5 trillion, as opposed to do what's a good tax plan. I agree with what you said at the beginning, Trish. Let's just do a real corporate tax plan, step one. Okay, you'll get it bipartisan. Many of the Democrats who are up for re-election have to approve a business tax, and then move to personal. And then on the personal, you can define it totally differently.
Be more aggressive on the personal side. I mean, one of the disturbing things here as well, Steve Cortes, is that it basically is penalizing anyone for being an employee. We should all go out and start our own companies, because if you do, you only have to pay 25% and you get to deduct state and local. But in this situation, you could be paying upwards of 35 or 39.6%, and you don't get to deduct state and local. So why work for anyone?
No, listen, it's a good point. And as much as we love entrepreneurship in America, and as much as we want to encourage it, we shouldn't penalize those who happen to work for an employer and who get a W-2. And you're exactly right. If you're a W-2 employee, particularly if you live in a high-tax state, this tax plan is problematic. And that's the part I don't like. There's things I love. Repatriation of capital from overseas, fantastic. Corporate tax cut, if it's immediate, fantastic. But we shouldn't be raising taxes on anybody. And that is happening to certain people under this plan.
Mm-hmm. Hadley, what are the odds of this thing getting through?
I think it's likely. I think we see something by the end of the year on President Trump's desk, and then we have to judge the final tax package based on the details that make it to the end.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of these details so far. Your thoughts on whether or not it happens?
I don't think it happens anywhere near what it looks like today, and I would look at these two bookends. Gary Cohn said the CEOs love it, and Peter King, the Republican congressman, said the middle class is getting screwed. Those are two tough bookends to figure out where to go.
All right. Well, Robert, Steve, Hadley, thank you very much. Good to have your perspective.
Thank you.
President Trump, everyone in the Philippines today, nearing the end of his big Asia trip, and he says he'll, quote, have a major announcement on trade to make on Wednesday.